stop. Because what I am about to show you is two official numbers, both from the same 7-day window, that cannot both be right at the same time. July 3, 2026. The WNBA officially named Caitlin Clark the Eastern Conference Player of the Month for June. Not a fan vote. Not jersey sales. Not social media. Production. Judged by people whose entire job is to watch what happens on the floor. 21.9 points per game. 8.2 assists, second in the entire WNBA. 45.6% from the field. Double figures in all 10 games she played. A 31.6% usage rate. Almost a third of everything Indiana did offensively went through her hands. And she won the award in 10 games fewer than players who lost to her. In June alone, she and Aliyah Boston became the first pair of teammates in BA history to each post a 30-point double-double in the same game. First ever. 30 seasons of basketball. Never done before. And that same week, her own peers ranked her 11th among guards on the All-Star ballot. Not third like the media. Not second like the fans. 11th, the players who guard her every single night, the ones building scouting reports specifically to slow her down, had 10 guards they considered ahead of her. One of those 10 guards was Kelsey Mitchell, her own teammate. The player who gets open looks because Clark draws 2 defenders. The players ranked Mitchell, who benefits directly from Clark's gravity, ahead of Clark herself. And here is the detail that turns it from strange to alarming. In 2025, the players ranked Clark 9th. She got better in 2026. They moved her to 11th. She improved on the floor, she dropped in their eyes. 2 years running. Moving in opposite directions. And nobody, not one player who cast a ballot, has offered a single public explanation. Tonight, the full picture. 2 official numbers, 1 uncomfortable pattern, and a silence that has lasted longer than it should. Before anything else, you need to understand exactly how this award was won. Because the gap only becomes real when you understand what Clark was doing in June. She played 10 games. Other players played 12 or more. She averaged 21.9 points, 4th in the league. 8.2 assists, 2nd in the entire WNBA. 45.6% from the field, with a 31.6% usage rate. Read that last number slowly. Almost a third of everything Indiana did offensively went through Clark's hands, and she was still shooting 45%. She scored in double figures in all 10 games. Not 8 of 10, not 9, all 10. The Indiana Fever put up 95.5 points per game in June, the most in the NBA. And she did all of this while managing a back injury that eventually forced her out of the June 24th game against Phoenix after she had already put up 19 points and 8 assists. She won Player of the Month in 10 games while missing games through injury. That is not volume production. That is elite production concentrated into every single night she stepped on the floor. The league looked at those 10 games and said clear winner. Her peers looked at the same 10 games and said not top 10. Same player. Same month. Same floor. 2 answers that cannot both be right. Now let's talk about how the All-Star vote actually works, because the mechanics matter here. Players do not rank guards 1 through 20. Each player names their top 4 guards. That is the entire ballot. So when you see 11th, what that means is Clark appeared on the 11th most ballots when players were naming their 4 favorites. Here is the context that softens it slightly. Only 85 of the league's 180 players actually voted. Fewer than half. Players tend to vote for teammates. For players they know personally. With a small pool and only 4 spots, the math can push a great player down without anyone actively ranking her below others. That explains part of the gap. But here is what it does not explain. 2nd to 11th. Fans said 2nd. Media said 3rd. Players said 11th. A 1 or 2 spot gap between groups is noise, people looking at the same player through different windows. A gap from 2nd to 11th is not noise. That is the kind of gap that shows up when one group is measuring something the other two are not looking at. And the format, a 4-name ballot with 85 voters, explains some of it. It does not explain all of it. And the part it cannot explain is the part that matters. Everyone brings up turnovers, so let's deal with it directly. Clark averages 4.6 turnovers per game this season. That is actually her career best, her lowest ever. Last year, she led the entire league at nearly 6. She improved. And yet, anyone still citing turnovers as the reason for 11th is working off old information. But here is the more important point. The turnovers and the 8.2 assists come from the exact same place. Clark brings the ball up against defenses specifically designed to stop her, not her team her. Traps in the backcourt. 2 defenders collapsing before she crosses half court. Coverages built around one player. When that double team comes, she has 2 choices. Make the hard pass through traffic to the open teammate, or keep it safe and take the easy option. The hard pass, when it works, is an assist. When it gets tipped, it is a turnover. Same skill, same decision, same defensive pressure. You cannot celebrate 8.2 assists while ignoring why those passes are necessary in the first place. Defenders do not forget the turnovers they forced. They remember those more than the passes that beat them. And that might explain part of how the players see her. But it does not explain 11th. Because Candace Parker, 3-time champion, Hall of Famer, went on her podcast and said it clearly. If you sit down and put Caitlin Clark as the 11th best guard, you have some insecurities. And you need to go see a therapist. That is a Hall of Famer on the record, saying the quiet part out loud. And she is not alone. In 2025, when the players ranked Clark 9th, Dick Vitale publicly called it pure jealousy. 2 different years, 2 different voices, same interpretation, not format, not sample size, something more human. And now here is the pattern that turns one strange vote into something you have to take seriously. 2025, Clark is 9th in player voting. Fans first. Historic vote totals. Named team captain. Players 9th. 2026, Clark wins Player of the Month. Sets EMBA records. Leads league's highest scoring offense. Fans 2nd. Media 3rd. Players 11th. She got better on the floor. She went down in their eyes. The production moved up. The peer ranking moved down. 1 year, anomaly. 2 years, running pattern. A pattern is a very different thing to explain away. And this is not the only place this season where the inside of the building has treated her differently than the outside. Left off the 30th anniversary poster. Fisted in the throat, 1-game suspension for Thomas. Elbowed in the ribs, foul called on Clark. Kneed in the quad, told she initiated it. Hand to the face, nothing. Technical foul for reacting to a screen. The same shape keeps appearing. Outside, she is the biggest thing women's basketball has ever had. Inside, the recognition keeps landing a step short. 2 years. Same direction. Nobody has explained it. Here's the part that makes the silence impossible to ignore. The explanation that would close this controversy completely costs nothing to give. Any player who voted could step up and say the guard position is loaded this year. I had 4 spots, Clark didn't crack my 4, nothing personal. 1 sentence. Controversy over. Or a player could say from the defensive side, I see things the box score doesn't show, and that changes my ranking. Also 1 sentence. Also completely believable. Also ends everything. Neither has been offered. Not on the record. Not anonymously. Not through a team statement. Everyone had something to say about the 11th ranking. Fans, analysts, a Hall of Famer, a longtime broadcaster. Everyone except the only people who actually cast the votes. When the explanation that would settle it is that cheap and that easy to give, and still nobody gives it, the absence of that explanation becomes part of the story. Silence is not proof of anything. But when a number this specific becomes this public, and the words that would fix it, are this easy to say the quiet starts to mean something. Player of the month from the league. 11th from her peers. Both numbers are real. Both came from people qualified to make that judgment. And nobody has explained how both can be true at the same time. That is what this whole thing comes down to. Not a rumor, not a hot take, not a leaked message. Two official numbers sitting side by side on the record, pointing in completely opposite directions. And a locker room that has chosen so far to say absolutely nothing about it at all. Player of the month. 10 games. WNBA records. Historical firsts alongside Aliyah Boston. 11th by her peers. Better on the floor in 2026 than 2025. Lower in their eyes. 2 years. Same direction. No explanation. Subscribe for daily WNBA content. Drop a comment when you weigh it all. The award, the records, the vote, the silence. Do you think the players got it wrong out of something personal? Or is there a basketball explanation the rest of us are not seeing from our couches? Because the silence has lasted long enough. And the numbers are not going anywhere.